Hello, everyone, and welcome to Bookercast, the podcast where books come to life.
And I'm so excited to dive into another amazing story with all of you.
Whether you're a bookworm or just love a good story, this is the place for you.
Every episode, we explore incredible books, talk about their stories and characters, and share insights that'll make you fall in love with reading all over again.
All right, let's not keep you waiting any longer. Get comfortable, and let's jump right into it.
Sounds good.
Welcome back, everyone. We're diving into a really powerful book today, Khaled Hosseini's The Kite Runner.
Yeah, a classic, really.
It takes us to Afghanistan, starting in the 1960s when things were, relatively peaceful, and then through the Soviet invasion and the rise of the Taliban.
Yeah, so much upheaval, so much change in that time.
But even with all that going on, at its core, it's a story about these two boys, Amir and Hassan.
Their friendship, really such a complex relationship.
Exactly. And I think that's one of the things that makes this book so captivating. How Hosseini uses this personal story, this bond between these two boys,
Yeah.
to explore these much bigger themes like guilt, redemption,
Right.
the impact of political turmoil on individual lives.
And it's what gives it that emotional depth. You know, what makes it resonate with readers even years later.
Totally. So right away, we see this really stark contrast in Amir and Hassan's lives. Amir grows up in this wealthy household
Privilege, yeah.
with his father, Baba, and Hassan is the son of their Hazara servant, Ali.
Right.
Lives in this tiny mud shack on the property.
Almost like they're brothers in a way.
Yeah.
But with this huge, undeniable social divide between them.
And that divide is made even more, poignant by how their mothers are portrayed.
Yeah, good point. It's like their mothers or the absence of them really shape who they become.
Totally. Amir's mother, we learn, died in childbirth.
Right at the beginning.
And there's this constant feeling that something's missing in his life, this emptiness.
Yeah, he longs for her, even though he never knew her.
But then there's Hassan's mother, Sanabar.
Totally different situation there.
She just abandoned him as a baby.
Yeah, just left him.
Which adds this whole other layer to their dynamic,
Definitely. And makes you think about what it means to belong, to have a family, even to be loved.
Yeah. And I also feel like Hassan, maybe because of that abandonment, he's so fiercely loyal to Amir, almost instinctively knows what Amir needs, even before Amir does.
And it makes you question, is this really an equal friendship? Or is there this power imbalance at play?
Right, because of their social positions.
Yeah, and the way Hassan kind of puts Amir on a pedestal.
There's that scene where they're walking through this military barracks, remember?
Oh, yeah.
And they run into these soldiers. One of the soldiers starts taunting Hassan.
Using awful language about his mother.
Really highlights the prejudice against the Hazaras.
So blatant, just out in the open.
And Amir, even though he's clearly scared himself, he doesn't stand up for Hassan.
Doesn't say a word.
And that silence, it feels like it sets the stage for the betrayal that comes later.
Yeah, I think you're right. It's this defining moment in their relationship.
And speaking of betrayal, we have to talk about Baba.
Amir's father.
Yeah. He's this larger-than-life figure, right?
Successful, charismatic.
But, also very rigid in his beliefs. Black and white.
No room for gray areas.
And that really impacts Amir because he wants his father's approval so badly.
But he's terrified of disappointing him.
Exactly. And it's interesting how Baba is contrasted with Rahim Khan, his close friend.
Yeah, Rahim Khan. He's much more understanding.
Encouraging of Amir's writing.
And Baba just dismisses.
Doesn't really care about.
Almost like Rahim Khan sees something in Amir that Baba misses.
And you can tell that Baba's lack of interest, it eats away at Amir.
Makes him want to prove himself even more.
And that leads us to the Kite tournament. A pivotal moment in this story.
Kite flying. It's more than just a game in the book, isn't it?
No, it's this huge part of Afghan culture.
Symbol of freedom, maybe?
And this tournament, it's like this test of skill, courage. For Amir, it's his chance to finally impress Baba.
To win his approval.
And he does win. But that victory, it's fleeting. It's immediately overshadowed by this horrible act of betrayal.
The attack on Hassan.
Yeah, while Amir's celebrating his
How
win.
amazing, basking in the glory.
Hassan is brutally attacked by Asif, that bully from the barracks.
The same one.
And what makes it even more devastating is that Amir sees it happen.
He's right there.
Witnesses the whole thing, but doesn't do anything to stop it.
Frozen by fear.
And probably the realization that intervening would mean losing Baba's approval. which is all he wants.
It's a decision that will change everything for both of them.
And the way Hosseini writes that moment, that the guilt, the shame that Amir feels, it's almost unbearable.
You feel it too as a reader.
And there's this one line, it just chills me every time. Amir thinks to himself, I was going to get away with it.
Powerful.
Yeah.
And so true, unfortunately.
And that's where his real torment begins. He can't escape the knowledge of what happened to Hassan.
And it starts to destroy their friendship bit by bit.
Instead of facing his actions, Amir just distances himself from Hassan, becomes withdrawn.
Hoping that Hassan will lash out at him.
Maybe to try and even the score in some way.
There's that scene with the pomegranates.
Oh, man.
Amir's throwing pomegranates at Hassan, yelling at him, trying to provoke some kind of reaction.
Desperate for some kind of balance.
But Hassan, with that incredible loyalty, he just takes it, asks, Are you satisfied?
Breaks your heart.
Shows how deeply he cares for Amir despite everything.
And yet, that love isn't enough to save their friendship. Because Amir, driven by his guilt,
His shame.
he does something even more horrible.
What's that?
He frames Hassan for stealing, hoping that Baba will get rid of him.
Plants his birthday gifts and some money in Hassan's shack, knowing how Baba feels about theft.
And of course, Baba confronts Hassan, demands an explanation.
And what does Hassan do?
He confesses, even though he's innocent.
To protect Amir.
The boy who just betrayed him in the worst way.
Incredible.
It's such a testament to Hassan's loyalty, his ability to forgive.
Makes Baba's reaction even more surprising, doesn't it?
Yeah, Baba, who's usually so strict, he instantly forgives Hassan.
Like he sees something pure in Hassan, something he doesn't see in Amir.
Yeah. Exactly.
Yeah.
Which just makes the relationship even more complicated.
So much going on beneath the surface.
So Hassan and Ali, heartbroken, betrayed, they leave Baba's house. And for Amir, his nightmare's just beginning.
Right. He might have gotten rid of Hassan, but now he has to live with what he did.
And with Afghanistan falling apart, the Soviets invading, that guilt becomes even more inescapable. A burden he carries with him as he escapes his homeland.
Heavy stuff.
It's crazy how, the country falling apart almost reflects what's happening inside Amir, you know?
Well, absolutely. That external chaos mirrors his internal struggle.
The Soviet invasion forces them to flee, Baba and Amir.
Leaving everything behind.
Kabul, their home, their past. I mean, it's a pretty vivid picture of how war impacts people, you know?
Oh, for sure. Hosseini doesn't shy away from the harsh realities.
They end up in this fuel truck,
Can you imagine?
crammed in with all these other refugees, just trying to survive.
Desperate to escape. And in that, shared struggle, we see a different side of Baba, don't we?
Yeah, he actually shows tenderness towards Amir, something we haven't seen a lot of.
There's a brief moment of genuine connection there, forged in hardship.
But it fades once they get to America. Baba really struggles to adapt.
He's lost his status, his identity.
Working menial jobs, missing his home.
You can feel his sense of displacement.
And Amir, while he's relieved to be safe,
Of course.
he can't escape the guilt. It follows him.
Like a shadow.
He tries to build a life, though. Goes to college, becomes a writer, even finds love, marries Soraya.
Seems like he's achieving the American dream.
But that past, it just hangs over him, you know?
Always there, lurking beneath the surface.
And then he gets that phone call from Rahim Khan.
Out of the blue.
It's like a voice from that life he left behind.
A life he's tried to bury.
Rahim Khan says something that really changes things. He says, there is a way to be good again.
Wow. It's a powerful statement, isn't it?
Both a promise and a challenge.
Gives Amir hope, but also forces him to face the truth.
And that truth leads him back to Afghanistan.
A very different Afghanistan.
To Peshawar, then to Kabul.
Which is now under Taliban rule.
Years of conflict have completely transformed it.
It's a shell of its former self.
The streets are full of fear.
The Taliban's presence is everywhere.
It's through Rahim Khan that Amir finds out what happened to Hassan.
That's right. He finally learns the truth.
Hassan and his wife, Farzana, they were murdered by the Taliban.
For refusing to leave Baba's house.
Imagine how that hits Amir. The weight of that revelation.
It's devastating.
His inaction, his betrayal, it led to this.
The consequences are inescapable.
It's at that point that the idea of redemption, it takes on this whole new meaning.
Yes, there's more.
Rahim Khan tells Amir that Hassan had a son.
Sohrab.
And he's alive, but trapped in an orphanage in Kabul.
A very dangerous place to be.
Rahim Khan asks Amir to rescue him, bring him to safety.
A chance for Amir to right some of the wrongs.
It's a risky mission, but Amir knows he has to do it.
To honor Hassan's memory.
to atone for his past.
So he sets off into this war-torn city.
Faces the Taliban firsthand. Sees how much they've destroyed.
And then he runs into Asif.
Talk about a confrontation with the past.
It's like something out of a nightmare.
Asif, who's now a high-ranking Taliban official, he recognizes Amir.
And what happens?
He beats him brutally.
A symbolic punishment for Amir's cowardice.
It seems like it's the end. But then Sohrab intervenes.
How does he do that?
Uses his slingshot.
A skill he learned from his father.
Just like Hassan used to defend Amir, he injures Asif.
Wow. It's a turning point.
Saves Amir's life.
Shows Sohrab's courage, his loyalty.
With Asif defeated, they managed to escape Kabul. But getting Sohrab out of Afghanistan, that's a whole other challenge.
It's a bureaucratic nightmare.
Endless paperwork, visa issues, the whole mess of international adoption.
And all against this backdrop of political chaos.
Sohrab's so withdrawn through all of it.
He's been through so much.
He barely speaks. Just clings to the few things he has left.
It's heartbreaking. He's lost everything.
Amir tries to connect with him.
How so?
Takes him to parks, buys him toys, even tries to get him interested in kite flying again.
Trying to find some common ground.
But Sohrab's just not responsive.
The trauma runs deep.
There's this one scene where Sohrab asks Amir to read him a story.
What story?
Rustam and Sohrab from the Shahnameh, the Persian epic.
The one Hassan loved.
It's this ancient story about a father who unknowingly kills his son in battle.
Heavy stuff.
And as Amir's reading, you realize he's trying to reach Sohrab,
To bridge the gap between them.
But even that shared love for the Shahnameh, it can't erase what's happened.
The pain is still there.
Sohrab, unable to cope, he attempts suicide.
Oh, man.
It's a devastating reminder of how deeply trauma can affect a child.
And makes you wonder if healing is even possible.
He survives, thankfully, and eventually they make it to America.
A new beginning, maybe.
But it's not a fairy tale ending.
Right, the journey's not over. Not by a long shot.
It's, it makes sense, right?
Oh, yeah.
They've both been through so much trauma.
Loss. Uncertainty.
Building trust, finding any kind of normalcy, it's got to be a struggle.
Absolutely. It's like they're both navigating this whole new world. Emotionally, physically.
Amir trying to be a father to this boy who's hurting so badly. And Sohrab, he's probably terrified of being abandoned again.
Right, after everything he's been through.
And that fear, it comes out in his silence.
Yeah. For months, he barely says a word.
Won't engage. It's like he's shut down completely.
It's heartbreaking, but it's a common response to trauma, especially in kids.
That silence, it speaks volumes, doesn't it?
Oh, yeah. Sometimes words just aren't enough to express that kind of pain.
Amir tries everything to reach him.
Like what?
Takes him to parks, buys him toys, tries to get him to, fly kites again.
Like trying to rekindle some of Hassan's spirit.
But nothing seems to work.
He's just so detached.
Lost in this world of silence.
And that silence, it contrasts so sharply with Hassan,
Yeah.
His vibrancy, his loyalty.
And I wonder if maybe that makes Amir feel even more guilty.
Like a constant reminder of what he lost, what he can never get back.
But there are these little glimmers of hope.
Oh.
A tiny smile here and there.
Mm-hmm.
A moment of interest during the Persian New Year celebration.
Okay.
And those moments, they're what keep Amir going. He realizes that healing takes time.
You can't force it.
He can't expect Sohrab to just forget everything.
It's about patience.
Earning Sohrab's trust. Slowly.
Bit by bit.
And that trust, it comes through small things.
Yeah, like what kinds of things?
Sharing meals, just being there for him.
Creating a sense of stability, safety.
And I think that's where the idea of redemption really starts to take shape.
How so?
It's not about erasing the past, but acknowledging it, making amends in the present, trying to create a better future.
It's a process, an ongoing one.
Not just a single act.
Uh-huh.
Then there's that scene at the park.
Oh, yeah, I remember that scene.
There are all these Afghan families flying kites.
Mm-hmm.
And for the first time, Sohrab actually seems interested. He even asks Amir to run the kite for him.
Really?
Yeah. And as Amir's running the kite, he says those words, "For you, 1,000 times over."
Wow.
It's like an echo of Hassan's devotion.
A promise. A declaration.
And the book ends with Sohrab, just the slightest hint of a smile on his face.
Not a grand resolution, but a sign that maybe, just maybe, healing is possible.
The Kite Runner, it's a story that stays with you.
It really does.
It reminds you that our choices have consequences, but that forgiveness, redemption, they're possible, even after something truly awful.
It's a story that resonates across cultures,
Definitely.
Friendship, betrayal, guilt, redemption. These are universal themes.
Exactly.
And that's a wrap for today's episode of Bookercast. We hope you enjoyed diving into it as much as we did. Thank you so much for spending your time with us. Your support means the world, and we can't wait to hear your thoughts on this episode.
Don't forget to subscribe, hit that like button, and share this episode with your fellow book lovers. And let us know your thoughts in the comments below. We love hearing from you. See you in the next deep dive. Bye for now, and happy reading.